Guys, welcome. So last week we told you about how we're going to be bringing you a lot of video content, interviewing founders, interviewing people within the hardware space as well as crowdfunding space. So today we've got a great founder. He's a guy behind Circadia who recently launched a campaign that raised over 200,000. And without further ado, Farés.
Thank you, Summit.
So do you want to give a bit of an introduction about what you do and how you came up with Circadia?
Sure. So Circadia is a sleep tech startup. We're based in London, and we're making the world's first closed loop, all-in-one sleep system that helps you fall asleep faster, that helps you wake up feeling refreshed, and it beats your morning grogginess. It features two products. It has a contactless sleep tracker that you put on your bedroom wall, and without wearing anything, it tracks how you sleep. And then you have a portable therapy lamp, which once we diagnose your sleep issues, we can help you treat your sleep problems by providing customized or personalized sleep therapy. Overall crowdfunding journey, our product is a very consumer-focused product.
Yeah.
And crowdfunding is the best or one of the most effective ways to figure out or validate your product market fit before you go out and raise external financing from venture capital. It's the best way to gather, customer feedback, so you can, include new features in your product or include new or refine the product further before you press the button to manufacture 10,000 or so.
So your main reason for crowdfunding was to validate the product further, increase maybe the company's value, get some units out there to the actual customers who understand and have this problem, and then to launch it in retail.
Absolutely, yeah. I certainly believe that Kickstarter is not just about selling products. Kickstarter is it's the best way to engage with a community of people that actually care about what you were doing. And it's fine to sort of internalize and come up with this idea of something yourself, but the market might not like it when you manufacture 10,000 of them. So it provides that early point where before you press the button, you can test the feasibility of your idea and test how much people want your product.
So when did you start thinking about the crowdfunding process? Because you ended up launching on Kickstarter. Was this a process that you started from the very beginning, or was it something that you thought of during the Hacks process?
Sure. So just to remind you guys, so we were in Hacks from September 2016 to December. We started thinking about running a Kickstarter campaign in November. Okay. 2016.
Is that the recommended time frame?
6 months is the bare minimum that we advise. 6 absolute bare minimum if you want to launch a good campaign. We eventually launched in June. Initially, our goal was to launch in March, and then we delayed it to April, May, and then when we were right, we decided to launch. And it from November onwards, we started engaging with we started thinking about how we're going to build a community, how we are going to create that hype going into the campaign. And we started looking into ads, Facebook ads, started testing our marketing messages from December onwards. And essentially, before we launched, we had about 5,000 people on our mailing list. We had at least 100 friends and family confirmed to purchase.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So you did something quite different that not a lot of Kickstarter projects do. You launched with 2 products. So I know a lot of people find it very difficult to launch one product, but how did you launch 2 products, and what were the challenges you faced?
Absolutely, two products is twice the work. The biggest problem or challenge that we faced was in terms of messaging. How do we communicate to a consumer that's never heard about you, that knows nothing about you, in 30 seconds, what we are doing and what is the system in itself? that was the most challenging part. And we realized over months and months of testing messages, creating that funnel. And then that is the most critical component, creating that funnel. How do you go from raising awareness? How do you go from an advert on Facebook to someone actually making a purchase at the end of the day? We did a lot of testing on the funnel, refining the funnel to ensure that our marketing message was not lost halfway in between or was not confused. And oftentimes it was, and that was the difficulty.
So would you say this was one of your mistakes that you made during the campaign? Because every campaign makes a mistake, you know, and you don't, like, no matter how much you test something, you eventually, you can't figure it out, and you can only figure it out during the campaign. So was this launching with 2 products one of your mistakes that you made in your campaign?
It's difficult to say, really. One of the things that sets us apart is providing that closed loop system. We are a sleep system, an all-in-one sleep system. Splitting it into 2 products would have certainly made it easier. I can say that for sure. Yeah. But in terms of whether we would have done better or not, it's something very difficult to quantify or you know.
Yeah. What happened with your PR structure? Because I didn't see much media around your launch, which was quite unusual.
Well, not till later. Yeah. So it's what I would certainly advise is that, you know, at least 6 weeks before you launch, you engage a PR company, and the job of a PR company is to craft a compelling story for you, and to essentially garner interest from tier A media. And what that would do is, it might not bring in, even if it does not bring in direct sales through the publications of different articles, what it would do is it would create more awareness about your brand, about your product, about your story. And when a consumer online sees your story on TechCrunch, and then he sees it on Digital Trends, and then he sees a Facebook ad as well, it leads him to become more interested in clicking and at least finding out a bit more about, okay, so what is this all about? With what happened with us is
your PR team.
We had a PR strategy.
Go on a tour, didn't they?
Absolutely. We had a PR company that we vetted very thoroughly, and they just didn't execute. And so what happened was, within the first 2 weeks of the campaign, we got rid of them, and I took it upon myself to do all the PR work.
Yeah.
And as a result of my own efforts, we got covered by the BBC, the Financial Times, and some very, very big tier A media that don't even cover Kickstarter campaigns. And it just goes to show that, you know, if you have a good PR team, or if you sit down well in advance and you engage with journalists, and you give them that, you know, exclusive, they will cover you. But you need to think about PR, because it's a huge game changer.
It's very important to work out whether your product is PR friendly as well. So if it's got an angle that the PR will like, because there's so many products out there now, and if you're just selling something that's not very unique, it's going to be very hard to get PR as well. So the PR team, their job was to get you media on day one, and they didn't get you media. You went on a media tour as well.
So we had a non-existent media tour. Obviously, we wasted a lot of resources. We went to San Francisco, and we went to Boston and New York. Aside from that, yes, we didn't have that day one confirmed list of publications that would write as soon as we go live. The PR firm additionally, you know, gave clearance on when we should launch, when we shouldn't have launched. So we launched in exactly when the Apple WWDC conference was happening, which was an incredibly bad time to launch, because all the journalists, all the media was focused around covering Apple.
And the PR team said this wasn't an issue.
Yeah, so we were clear to launch. We were, you know, obviously we had our reservations, but they encouraged us to launch, and that's what we did. But at the end of the day, we raised over $200,000.
And this probably just proves that you need a really good pre-launch campaign,
exactly.
building your
the
own
pre-launch
community.
campaign categorically saved us.
Yeah.
If we did not have a pre-launch campaign, we wouldn't have hit our 100,000 target in 72 hours. We would have not have garnered enough sort of traction from people. Because you need to understand that just getting signups is not the end of the game. You need to engage with the audience. So we had a very good drip campaign in place. People had heard about us 3 or 4 times through our emails. We almost over-engaged them in a way, and that's what was really sort of that's what really sort of drove our initial sales, the initial traffic. Because you need to remember that the more sales you can bring organically to Kickstarter's algorithms try and match that, and they sort of try and promote your product within the platform as well and match the funds that come through. So it's incredibly important. So if you bring in 50,000, Kickstarter is going to try and bring traffic organically to their own platform as well.
Always said, you need to have all parts of the mix. You can't just rely on one element and think this is your silver bullet. A lot of projects out there, a lot of project creators are looking for that silver bullet. It's always good to make sure you're doing everything that you possibly can to minimize your risk of failure and increase your chances of success. So overall crowdfunding, what was your overall impression of it? Maybe some takeaways for the audience?
Yeah, so the key takeaways really would be that it's incredibly hard. It's a very difficult period. We were spending about 80 to 100 hours a week. You need to have the energy to drive through that. But more importantly, you need to remember that at the end of the day, your purpose for going on Kickstarter is so you can test your idea. You can validate it. If you don't hit $1 million, or if you don't hit $2 million or $10 million, it's not the end of the world. What you need to do is you need to ensure that you have this great community of people who really believe in your product. So things spread through word of mouth. So, these 1,000 people, if they recommend it to their 5 friends or family, that's how your brand grows. And, it's the third thing I would say is it's a journey. Enjoy it. If you become too result orientated, it will really affect you personally. Yeah. And you will really burn out at the end of the process.
You were quite burnt out by the end of the process, weren't you?
Yeah, mainly because our team was extremely small. We had 3 people working on the team. Most startups, they have in excess of 5, and it was just a sheer amount of workload. There's so much to do. In terms of marketing prep, in terms of arranging demos, PR, engaging with your audience, answering questions from the community, from the backers on Kickstarter, and continue strategizing and thinking about how you can drive more eyeballs towards your page while keeping the costs under control. It's a very interesting process.
So what are your plans for the future now?
Right, so we're now hiring, and we're going full steam ahead on focusing on the product, the development side of things. We've got about 9 months to ship the product, and that's our supreme focus at the moment. So we're growing our team and focusing more on development.
Yeah.
And
Okay, that's good. Thank you, Farés, for coming along and talking about Circadia. If you guys want to know more about Circadia, there's going to be links in the comments below. We'll add some attachments so you can find more about Circadia. We've got a lot more content coming up. We've got a lot more interviews coming up in the next couple of weeks, so just keep posted, and we shall be talking a lot more about things in general. So thank you, everyone.